Hey friend, if you have a reactive dog, you've probably spent a lot of time trying to fix reactions. Fix the lunging, fix the barking, fix the reactions. And sometimes things improve until something happens, like a new dog, an off-leash dogs, am I right? A surprise trigger or a moment you didn't plan for. And suddenly it feels like you're right back to where you started. So today's episode is just a little bit different because if you are coming to the Calm Down Dog Bootcamp, which starts tomorrow, this episode is for you. So think of it like a little boot camp prep because there's one mindset shift that makes everything that we're going to talk about inside the boot camp make a whole lot more sense. And don't worry, if you haven't signed up, there's still time, friend. There's still time. Sign up for the boot camp. All right, let's get into it today. Ready to have a calm and peaceful life with your dog without the stress of those fear-based behaviors? Hi, I'm Tracy, and I've been there, overwhelmed by all the conflicting dog training advice and unsure of what to do next. But now I help dog lovers like you simplify your life with your dog by building confidence naturally, fostering trust, and addressing those fear-based challenges. So, if you're ready, stop chopping those chicken wieners and let's get to it. All right, before we get into it, I need to remind you that the Calm Down Dog Boot Camp starts tomorrow. It's happening March 17th through 19th, just an hour and a half each day. We're doing it on Zoom. If you can't make it live, there'll be replays, but I always want to encourage you to show up live because that's where the magic happens. We get to talk, we get to work out things together, and honestly, it's a lot of fun. I'm a lot of fun. You think I'm fun on this podcast? Imagine me on Zoom. Woo! You can't even. All right. So if you haven't started already inside the Facebook group, we had a reset. We had some challenges. We had some great conversations. And yes, there's giveaways happening as well. So head on over there, beyondobedience.ca/bootcamp. Grab your spot. Hang out with us tomorrow. I'll see you there. Well, hello, my dog loving friend. It is Tracy. Welcome to this special episode today as we are feverishly prepping for the boot camp happening tomorrow. Just imagine behind the scenes, just Paisley and I just frantically like running around, just getting it all done. That's what's happening right now. But before we get into that, let's talk about what are we talking about today? We're talking about the cycle reactive dog owners fall into. And one of the hardest things about living with a reactive dog is often that you feel like you're stuck in a cycle, right? Something happens, your dog reacts, you fix, or you try to fix the reaction. You train harder, you practice more, you add another technique, and sometimes things improve until something new happens. And then you feel like you're back where you started. It's like 2 steps forward, 3 steps back every single time. And I know that frustration because I have lived it, friend. I have lived it. If you haven't heard my story about Wally, I'm going to talk more about that in tomorrow in the boot camp. But if you haven't heard it, I mean, I tell you, I did all the training. I even took this dog to I didn't take Wally to Schutzen, but I took Frankie to Schutzen. He was my Doberman. Then I got after Wally. I took him to Schutzen because I was like, I got to control this dog. Like so much emotional spiraling, really. Happen with those dogs. But the reason why this happens and why this keeps happening is because most of the advice out there, as I mentioned in the last few episodes, is focused on controlling the behavior. But reactive dogs are not struggling with obedience, right? That's the funny thing. You can have a very obedient reactive dog. That's a thing that happens all the time, right? But what you do have is a dog that is lacking that clarity because dogs are constantly asking questions about the world around them. And I find sadly, most of the time, us humans, we don't catch it. We miss it. We're too in our damn heads, if I'm being honest. We're not even really paying attention. We miss those micro moments, those openings, those little tiny invitations where we can, we have a moment where the dog is like, is this okay? Like, are you okay? Or am I okay? Are we okay? And if you miss that, your dog then either feels like they have to handle it themselves or they shut down from you, right? It starts to chip away at your relationship with the dog. Because when they don't get that clear answer, they're going to start answering those questions for themselves, because dogs are always rooted in survival. And if you're not going to be a partner with them, if you're not going to partner up with them in survival, then you're just the dope at the end of the rope that gives them the treats. That seems harsh. That sounded harsh. Let me just back up a little bit, because now I feel bad because I called you a dope, and I didn't mean to call you a dope, but just so you know, that was a phrase that used to happen. I used to get called that all the time, by my horse mentor when I was doing natural horsemanship. Like, he was like, "You're just the dope at the end of the rope, and the horse is just dragging you around." And so it's said with love. I hope you didn't take offense to that. You know who probably did take offense to that? Brenda. Brenda's probably like, "I'm taking offense to all of this, Tracy." If you don't know the Brenda thing, that you missed an episode a few episodes back. Anyway, doesn't matter. The point is, I'm sorry I called you a dope, but that's what ends up happening, right? They start answering those questions themselves. And that's the reason why, and we mentioned this before, that reactive dogs stay on edge, and they're always scanning, they're reacting quickly, they're struggling to settle down, because in their mind, somebody's got to be in charge. Someone's got to manage the situation. And if it doesn't look like you're willing to manage it, then they will try to, and they can't. They really can't, right? So I want to make this shift for you in preparation for the boot camp that's happening tomorrow. I want to make this shift for you. The shift isn't about more training. Okay, the shift isn't about more commands. It's not more techniques. This shift is literally about leadership, clarifying things now. Leadership is not dominance. It's not the same thing. We're not saying to dominate the dog. That's not a thing. We're not dominating dogs. It's not about control. It's just clarity. It's becoming someone worth following to a dog. It's very important. And how do you become somebody worth following to a dog? Means you have to understand the dog. And that's what we've been trying to do the last few episodes. We've really been leaning into these concepts. Because when dogs believe that you've got things handled, something interesting starts to happen. They stop trying to solve all the world's problems themselves. And instead they start to pause, and they check in, and they ask questions. And again, I love a dog that asks questions. Because the moment that your dog starts asking questions, that is when you can say, "It's okay. We're good. We got that. Let's go. We'll go this way." You know, we give them a little pat on the head, a little scritch on the cheek, and we go, "You're good. We got this. It's no big deal. We're moving on." And I know the reason I know this shift works is because I have actually seen it happen again and again with people that have come through the Calm Down Dog Bootcamp. One of the participants told me that she spent 9 years trying to fix her dog's leash reactivity. That's a lot of years when you consider how short our dogs live for. 9 years. Trying different approaches. And her dog had improved somewhat, but the reactivity was still there. But when she started focusing on how she showed up, rather than trying to fix every trigger, the reactivity actually stopped. Another participant said that the biggest change wasn't her dog, it was her. That's a big one. That happens all the time. Like, they're like, "Oh no, I was the one that changed." And that's great. Listen, I really hope, and this is my hope, if you're not feeling empowered by this information, because if you haven't picked up on the theme, if you've missed the theme I've been laying down, if you haven't been picking up what I've been putting down in the last few episodes, is that we are really going to focus on you, my friend. We're going to focus on how you show up, how you show up for your dog. And I really hope that information empowers you. It's not made to make you feel bad. Not like other trainers that are like, "You're the problem. You're too soft. You're too this. You're too that." That's not what we're talking about. You can be soft and still be a leader. You can be quiet and still be a leader, right? So this is meant to empower you. This isn't blame or shame. This is just pure empowerment, right? Because this woman, once she realized how much her own tension and anticipation was traveling down the leash, and once she changed how she showed up, her dogs just started to change. And I hear that again and again. And this isn't an overnight thing. Please hear me when I say this. If you're coming to this boot camp thinking that we're going to solve all your dog's problems in 3 days, wah, that's not what's happening. Okay? Please know that. I don't want you coming in being like, my dog is still reactive. I took the boot camp for 3 days. My dog's still reactive. That is not what's going to happen. You know that. I mean, you know that coming in. We're not going to solve all your dog's problems in 3 days. That's not the point. There is going to be an opportunity to continue to do this work with me if you are so inspired. But my hope is at the end of the 3 days, you're going to walk away. You're going to feel empowered. You're going to feel inspired. And you're going to have the direction that you need to start making like positive changes, to start to see these shifts too. Because I hear it again and again. People start to see their dogs differently. They start to understand what their dogs are actually asking for. And suddenly things that felt impossible start to shift. So if you're coming to the boot camp, and remember, we start tomorrow. Okay. Currently, like it's March 16th today. So tomorrow, March 17th, that's when the boot camp starts. Here's some things I want you to start today in preparation for the boot camp. And you know, honestly, if you're listening to this and it's long past the boot camp, you can still do this today. Just because you're like, well, I don't have to do this because I'm not going to the boot camp. You can still do this today. Okay. First of all, I just want you to start to watch your dog, observe your dog. Notice when they look at you. Notice when they don't look at you. Notice when they don't pay attention. You know what? I know that my dog Gunther doesn't pay attention to me when the cat walks in the room. How interesting. Notice when they try to handle the things themselves. Notice where they move, how they move, what do they do. Notice those check-ins. That's where everything begins to change. And I'm going to say this with a whole lot of caution, okay? Because what I'm about to say to you, well, the thing I want you to start, what I'm about to say to you is I'm not saying, let me tell you what I'm not saying. I'm not saying let your dog run wild and do whatever they want. That's not what I mean. But for this week, especially for the boot camp week, there are going to be these small moments. I want you to find small moments where you can give up a little bit of control so that you can actually see your dog's decisions. You see, a lot of the times our dogs are or want to make decisions. And due to the fact that we are holding on to them so tightly with the leashes, we are not allowing them to actually tell us what they need or what they want. We're so tightly controlling everything that we're not even allowing our dogs to even ask questions. We're not allowing them to show us when they're uncomfortable or what they would choose to do. Now, many of you with reactive dogs are going to be saying to me, I know what they do. They're going to lunge. They're going to do whatever. That is probably part of a patterning repetition that they're used to now. But if we were to say, give space and then give a little bit of leash and see what happens, once you stop fighting them, you might be surprised what you get. Okay? Now, again, caveats. I'm not saying let your dog run over and start a fight. That is not what I'm saying. Please hear me when I say this. Okay? But what I am saying, like, sometimes you just need to loosen the leash just a little bit, create a little bit of space to actually see what the dog chooses, because they can surprise you. Stop fighting the reaction for just a moment. If the dog pauses and goes, wait a minute, this is different, that's your moment. That little pause, that little moment of curiosity, that's where you can insert your influence. That's where influence begins. And I'll tell you right now, it's tiny. It's a tiny, if you could see me right now, I'm making a little tiny space with my fingers. It's a tiny little microscopic moment. But if you catch it, the next moment will be a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger until you can really start to infuse yourself in that moment. Your dog will then start to be like, wait a second, this person is here. They're part of this. Okay, so that's your little assignment. Before the boot camp starts, watch your dog, notice the questions, notice the check-ins. If you don't have any, how interesting, notice that too, okay? If you're like, you can come to the boot camp tomorrow and be like, Tracy, I tried that little thing. I noticed that the dog never looked at me once. Cool. Now we know where we're starting. Now we know where we're starting. Okay. So there you go. Final invitation, little assignment before the boot camp starts. Watch your dog, notice the questions, notice the check-ins. And if you're not signed up for the boot camp, please come on. Why not? Come to the boot camp. This is where we get to meet. This is where we get to see each other. Like not just me talking to you, just like we get to see each other. It's going to be fun. You're going to love it. Can't wait to see you there. It starts tomorrow. All right. I think that's it, my friend. So if you liked this sort of thing, this boot camp prep, you can go ahead and head on over to Apple Podcasts. Leave me a 5-star written review. It really helps push the podcast out to more and more people. And if you're on Spotify, leave me a comment. Follow me over there. That also helps. As always, my dog-loving friend, get out there today and be the person that your dog thinks you are. Because your dog thinks that you're amazing, and so do I. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you in the boot camp. Bye for now. Oh, and one more thing. This podcast is meant for entertainment and education purposes only, and it's not meant to replace hands-on professional training. If you're really struggling with your dog, please reach out to a professional in your area. All right, I think that's it. Bye for now. Ow! Oh, and one more thing. If you're somebody that is going to complain that all I do is talk about the boot camp and then give me a 1-star review, boo, shame on you. I'm excited about the boot camp. There's nothing wrong with that.